You are listening to the 3 Count Podcast. Now, can you dig that? Sucker! I'm Dylan Chambers with Benny Hobden. As always, we've got a great show for you today. We're going to look at all the latest news around the world of pro wrestling, break down the card for AEW Full Gear, and give some odds and our predictions. Plus, we've got a great draft for you today. We're going to draft the best combat sports crossover athletes. So, Benny, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Good deal. What's going on, mate? How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I just completed an edit for KO's exclusive Rey Mysterio interview, which is going up on Monday. So
nice. Looking forward to it, mate.
Very exciting. So there's some good stuff we got out of Rey. Apparently, he now thinks losing the mask made his career. So tune in to find out what Rey thinks about losing the mask and Bischoff and Heyman, and there's plenty going on there.
It's juicy. It's looking forward to that.
Very
so when
juicy.
Did you say Monday?
Monday afternoon, it will be going
Beautiful.
up on KO. So check it out. Now, as we always say, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button for us. If you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, hit the follow button. Let's get straight into it, Benny. What is happening in the news?
Mate, well, it's a big AEW week, obviously, Full Gear and everything, but there is a lot of WWE stuff we need to quickly touch on. Releases galore, like everywhere.
Seems to be a bit of a common theme now.
But every time we talk, it does seem to be happening. But I'll just rattle off a few names. So we've got, I've got to look them up. That's how many there are. We've got Keith Lee and Mia Yim, obviously a couple, married. Nia Jax. Well, we're not too sad about that.
That's a big one, though, I think.
Well, yeah, you could say that. Carry On Cross and Scarlett. You'll be sad about this one. Eva Marie.
Eva. The absolute, instant classic Eva Marie, they call her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, great performer in ring.
Very good.
What Vince was thinking of when he brought her back, but anyway.
Very true.
Actually, no, I probably do know what Vince was thinking.
Yeah, we all know what Vince was thinking. That clear demographic, mate. We know what he was thinking.
Yeah.
Ember Moon, Lucha House Party, Oni Lorcan, Frankie Monet, and then Harry Smith as well.
That's big. Frankie Monet, she's John Morrison's fiance.
Yeah, wife, fiance.
Yeah.
So that's another one.
I did see that the Lucha House Party guys had asked for their release. So
right.
Something, but yeah, a lot of big names going. Keith Lee, it just does my head in there. They and Carry On Cross, they've repackaged these guys.
Yeah, exactly.
They've been given a, let's be fair, shit gimmick by Vince.
Vince wouldn't do that.
And they can't pull it off, so they get rid of him.
I'll tell you what, though, Cross will be happy that he doesn't have to wear that bloody thing over his head anymore.
Oh, I don't know why they thought that would sell as well. In any case, you know who else doesn't like it? Mick Foley.
Really?
He has been very loud on social media as to his displeasure with all these releases and how they're handling them all wrong.
Well, fair enough. I was just going to say, so I've read somewhere that they've lost more than 70 wrestlers this year alone.
Isn't that crazy?
In release, like that's a whole nother company.
So they've released these wrestlers because of budget cuts, but apparently last quarter they had a $278 million revenue. So yeah, I can see they definitely need those budget cuts for sure.
Vince needs a new house in Connecticut or something like that, mate. So anyway, moving on. What else we've got? Undertaker was at the Cowboys game last week. Obviously, WrestleMania is going to be at AT&T Stadium. So
I did see he was shaking hands with Jerry Jones and George W. That was, yeah. So what do you think with Undertaker? Will he attend or will he be at WrestleMania? So he did an interview with the Dallas Morning News, I think the day after, and they asked him, will he be back? And he basically says he doesn't have it anymore. He said he can't give the people what they paid for. His time has come and gone, but that, he could walk through and get through a match if he needed to. So it's still, he closed the door, but then left it a little bit ajar.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, he could be the host of WrestleMania or something like that.
Exactly.
That'd be perfect.
The dead man host. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, speaking of actually the dead man as well, did you watch that Netflix New Day and Undertaker?
I tried to. I think on my Samsung TV it would not let it work. So
it was tough. I'll tell you what. I only made it about 10 minutes in, and I couldn't do any more of it. So
you couldn't choose your own adventure with the New Day.
I was trying. It was just really tough. It was hard to do. moving on to what else we've got. 24-year anniversary of the Montreal Screwjob was on Wednesday.
Ah, nice. Well,
Terrible
they do
day.
have
Terrible day in wrestling.
Oh, brilliant day. Finally, they got rid of Bret Hart. And Shawn Michaels stood tall. But yes, they've got a few documentaries on SBS On Demand, which you should all check out. They're the special in-depth looking at one superstar docos. I can't remember what the channel is that did them over in the States, but they're really good. And they've got a Bret Hart one, which obviously it goes into in-depth, and then, you know, him getting back with Vince and getting back with Shawn. And it's really interesting.
I was literally listening to a podcast last night, Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, and they were going over it as well. It was like in depth. It was pretty good.
Oh, nice. Well,
so it was an old one, but it was just a rewind that they put out because obviously it was the 24-year anniversary. So
yeah, nice.
Give that a listen. It's pretty good.
Well, speaking of podcasts, I'll just jump in. Yeah. Someone has a new podcast. Ric Flair. Ric Flair is back, and he's about to do a new podcast. It's called Ric Flair Woo Nation Uncensored with Mark
Thompson?
Madden, Jerry Briscoe, and JBL.
Yeah, right. JBL. That's interesting.
Yeah, interesting stuff. So, I mean, uncensored Ric Flair, that's like he's not in enough trouble already.
Yeah, look, I don't know if anybody will be listening to that, to be fair. What else in the news? We've got just a quick one. Chelsea Green's talking to Playboy. For all those kids out there listening, look away. For all those in our age demographic, then tune in.
Great articles.
Good articles.
Great articles.
The Rock is teasing a return to WWE.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I did see he kind of rubbished a return for WrestleMania this year. But he's definitely saying there's another run in him, he thinks.
He did mention title run in one stage there, and I was like, I don't know about title run. Come on, Rock.
Yeah, he might get a title shot. That could make an interesting match. But
obviously, it'll be him and Roman at some stage. Well, not WrestleMania, though. So what are we thinking? SummerSlam next year, maybe?
Possibly. I mean, you can't really have a title run while you're out campaigning for being president, right?
Well, is that going to happen? Be pretty interesting.
US president and WWE champion at the same time.
Well, we've had a US president that's fought in the WWE ring. Well,
in the WWE Hall of Fame.
There you go. He did cost. Whose hair did he cost? Vince's hair. There you go. Just one other thing. Can we just take a second to mention Seth Rollins' drip at the moment? It's ridiculous. That was just a quick one.
The drip god.
Yeah.
The absolute drip god. Every week I'm like, I would love that suit, but I could not pull it off.
Definitely couldn't pull it off. And then Becky's pulling out some weird hairdos and some good stuff at the moment. There's a couple goals there, I tell you.
Yeah, the drip king and queen for sure.
War Games has been announced for December 5th, NXT. So that'll be good. Obviously without the Undisputed Era for the first time. So
yeah.
I don't know who's going to be in it, but
especially with all these new guys. Hopefully our boy Zion Quinn gets a bit of a run. I saw they took the Takeover name off of War Games now, so hopefully they'll just kind of get rid of Takeover.
Well, they'd be up to 100 by now, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be on there.
No. And then RIP to Judy Bagwell, the original. that was really heartfelt. That looked really heartfelt there.
It was. You know, I loved Buff back in the day.
God, yeah, he was the stuff, and the ladies just can't get enough. But yeah, the original on a forklift lady, Judy Bagwell. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. Judy, former WCW Tag Team Champion with Rick Steiner.
No.
Did not actually compete, but was, through elimination, was given the title by Rick Steiner as his partner.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Imagine if she actually got in the ring.
That would be.
They did put the title on David Arquette at one stage, I mean, but he's at least redeemed himself a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Speaking of WWE crossovers, perfect for this podcast, Colby Covington at the UFC last week came out to Kurt Angle's music.
What a way to lean into people hating you, right? Yeah,
just steer into the skid. The crowd were going crazy. Just the "you suck" chants nonstop. It was brilliant. And then he kept his heel persona going in the post-fight press conference. And this was just his quote. He said, "You might see me in WWE one day, but I don't think you're going to see me in a second-tier promotion like AEW." Shots fired. But that's just him. He needs to get some clicks and that kind of stuff. So And then that's pretty much it. Oh, one last thing. Bray's about to star in a horror film, his own horror film. It's going to be a bit different. So they've said that it's a crossover between Ichi the Killer, which is a Japanese action horror film I've never heard of, and Xanadu, of all things.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. That could be anything. But hey, it's Bray.
Well, horror film that fits Bray to a T.
To a T. So that's about it for me. What's going on? Have you got anything else?
I mean, it's been a few weeks since we were last on air. Since then, we've had John Moxley pull out of everything AEW and enter an alcohol treatment program. So best of luck to John Moxley out there.
To that. Good luck.
It was and CM Punk did a promo the following week and just basically gave him a big shout out. And it seems like he's getting a lot of support, so that's really great. So he's pulled out, and Miro took his place in the title eliminator tournament. We'll get to that a little bit later. Speaking of AEW, Bryan Danielson has come out and said that the contract that he signed is for 3 years. So we've got a good few years of Bryan Danielson in AEW. Young Bucks hinting at a possible KO reunion of Kevin Owens. They changed their Twitter bio. They love their Twitter bio, the Young Bucks. Changed it to MROW, which references the PWG faction Mount Rushmore, which they are in with Kevin Owens and Adam Cole. So
I reckon they're just teasing.
They're just teasing. They love a good tease. Kevin Owens did mention the possible length of his contract on Raw a few weeks ago. So you never know. Never know what will happen.
Especially with WWE at the moment.
Yeah. We had Kalisto showed up on AEW under the name Samurai del Sol. Team with AAA's Aerostar to take on your boys, FTR, Las Superanas. For the AAA tag team titles. Unfortunately, they were not successful, but good to see Kalisto getting a bit of a run. We now get into a little bit more WWE stuff that I've seen in this Becky Charlotte situation. So we had the kind of botched title handover, which was all the talk. So Becky did an interview for Sports Illustrated. They asked her about Charlotte, and she said, basically, we don't talk anymore. We used to be best friends. That locker room now needs a hero, and I'm happy to be that hero.
That doesn't sound like a shoot interview though to me. That sounds like
it doesn't.
It's all
They're trying to sell tickets.
That's kayfabe for sure.
They're trying to sell tickets, so they're probably doing a good job of it. What else we've got? We've got Kyle O'Reilly's contract is set to be up at the end of next month. Now, I have literally just seen, I have Rampage on right next to me. Bobby Fish and Adam Cole helping each other out on AEW Rampage. The Young Bucks did say there was no dispute as to who ran AEW, but good to see a bit of a...
This is no dispute. This is the All Elite era.
That's right.
So come on,
That's right. But Bobby Fish and Adam Cole kind of having each other's back at the moment. So, there we go. Yes, gold.
Oh, he's got the shirt on as well.
Got the shirt on. So Survivor Series teams have been named and changed quite a bit. So for Raw, we have Rollins, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Rey Mysterio, and Bobby Lashley. Stacked team. Now for SmackDown, we had a bit of a change, which just happened on SmackDown just then. So we've got Drew McIntyre, Xavier Woods, Baron Corbin, and then Jeff Hardy and Sami Zayn had a match with the loser being eliminated from the SmackDown team. Sami Zayn lost that match. It goes back to the whole conspiracy theory. So Sami Zayn is no longer a member of Team SmackDown. We've also had a change in the women's team. So for Raw, we have Belair, Ripley, Morgan, Carmella, and Vega. SmackDown, we have Banks, Baszler, Shotzi, Natalya, and we did have Aaliyah, but Sonya Deville eliminated her for no reason. Aaliyah won her first match on SmackDown, was ecstatic, and then after the match, Sonya Deville said, "Congratulations, but you're no longer on Team SmackDown."
So Team SmackDown are missing a guy and a girl from their teams at the moment.
That's right. Right. So we'll look forward to see what's happening there. And
hopefully
lastly,
it's a big name or something that comes back. That'd be good.
That would be good. Lastly, a bit of a football crossover. We're big football fans here. The XFL planning to relaunch in 2023 and is co-owned by The Rock.
Yeah, he bought it a couple of years ago.
So they've got a new president in Russ Brandon, who's been working with the Buffalo Bills for over 20 years. So yeah, it could be interesting.
Some knowledge, at least something actually going on. That
could be interesting with all these, not to get too inside baseball, but with all these NFL email releases, maybe the XFL will be the only competition by then.
Yeah, well, what is this? The fifth incarnation of the XFL, or third? I don't know. Vince has tried a couple of times, so
hopefully they get it right this time. I mean, they were on the right track. The COVID obviously hurt them a little bit, but but that's it for the news. So
let's get into the big card.
I think it's time to get into Full Gear. Now, this year's Full Gear is the third edition of the pay-per-view. It started in 2019 in Baltimore. John Moxley defeated Kenny Omega in an unsanctioned lights out match in the main event. Interestingly enough, AEW were fined $10K because of this match, which involved bleeding, because the Maryland Athletic State Commission do not allow intentional bleeding in pro wrestling shows.
$10K, that would have actually probably set Tony Khan broke, I reckon.
Yeah. Pocket change for old Tony.
He just blows his nose with $10K, so it doesn't worry him.
Also in 2019, Jericho successfully defended the AEW World Championship against Cody. And because he lost, Cody will never challenge for the AEW World Championship again.
And he's backed that up recently. He came out and said it again, probably a month or so ago, that he still sticks by that. So
good for Cody.
Sticking to his guns, It's actually good to see.
In last year's edition, John Moxley defeated Eddie Kingston in an I Quit match for the AEW World Championship. And in the final of the first eliminated tournament, we actually saw Kenny Omega and Adam Page go head to head, with Omega winning that one and going on to win the title.
So it's come full circle.
It has.
Or a full gear, you might say.
I love it. Of note, also in that pay-per-view, Young Bucks and your friends FTR had a match for the AEW World Tag Team titles, which garnered a 5.25 star rating from Dave Meltzer. So an over 5-star match. Gotta love it.
So a 5-star Super Ranos?
Nah, something like that.
I'm on fire today.
Something like that. Nice one.
I got
now let's get into this year's event, coming live from the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Let's start with the trios match. We have Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Christian Cage against the Super Click. Now, these guys have had plenty of beef in the past few months. It should be a fun match.
Definitely a fun match. I'm up in the air in this one. I just don't know who to pick.
Now, I checked the odds the other day and they were even, but they have since now changed. Super Click is $1.57 and Jurassic Express and Christian Cage are $2.25. So I'm going with the favorites.
I'm going Super Click as well. I've made up my mind. I'm going to do it. I'm going Super Click, but it should be a good match.
It should be a cracker of a match. I mean, I feel like his reasoning behind going the Super Click. I think we'll get a build to a Colby Cage match, Christian Cage match, not a cage match. And I think Jurassic Express, they need a legit win over the Bucks. And I think obviously having the trios match isn't a way to get the legit win. So I feel like they'll build to that. Super Click win here will lead to both of those things happening.
Yeah, I guess if the Express get the win over the Bucks, then they can have that puts them up for a title shot essentially. So
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. We then have CM Punk and Eddie Kingston. Now, this stemmed from Kingston interrupting a Punk interview backstage, which led to an amazing promo. Feels like there's a lot of bad blood here. It seems like there was, from the promo, it's 15 years in the making. Eddie Kingston wasn't really happy when he came into the indies of how he was treated by guys like CM Punk. And cracker of a promo. And this has just led to, a match I'm excited for.
Yeah, it should be a great match, I think. I can't see Punk losing just yet, though, either.
No, we've got Punk at $1.27 and Kingston at $3.40.
Excuse me.
Bless you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, very hard to go against Punk. He's got the winning streak intact. And for me, I feel like no matter how many times Kingston gets beaten, it doesn't tarnish him at all.
No, it just makes him look better. He gets over by losing sometimes. And his matches are so brutal. Like, some of those chops and stuff, brutal. We do love that word here. His chops and stuff like that, he just doesn't hold back at all. So I think CM Punk can definitely put him over even more. This is probably a good test for Punk as well. He's kind of
I mean, Darby Allin's a mid to high tier guy, but
he was never going to lose that though in his first match.
No, exactly. But this could be a real good test of like how he can do the hard hitting Bryan Danielson style, hard hitting, hard smashing match. So be a good test for Punk. But I'm looking forward to it.
Money's on Punk though.
We then have AEW World Tag Team Championship match. The Lucha Bros against your boys, FTR. After FTR dressed up as Las Superanas to win I love saying that, Las Superanas, to win the AAA tag team titles, Lucha Brothers are ready to hand out some retribution. We've got the Lucha Brothers at $1.22, FTR at $3.80.
I'm taking the 380. Let's go. Go my boy. They're my boys all of a sudden. I don't know how. I never used to like them at all. I actually really hated them. But
as soon as you saw those green outfits, you were like,
everything changed. I think it's the name. It's Las Superanas. That's what it is, mate.
Like that old show, Marsupilami. Do you remember that? Las Superanas, Marsupilami. Okay, that must just be me.
I'm from the bush, remember, mate.
From the bush, mate. Okay. I'm going to take the smart money of the Lucha Brothers, but I've just only because they haven't had the titles that long.
That makes sense.
But I can see FTR getting them eventually, just not yet.
This it's a tale of two completely different styles though. This match as well.
Oh, absolutely.
FTR are so old school, like just wear your opponent down, whereas Lucha Brothers are like high flying and just like always on the move and stuff like that. So it's going to be a real grind. I think the psychology in this match will be pretty good considering what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, from what we've seen in the past from these two, it could be match of the night.
Yeah, that's fair.
We then move on to MJF taking on Darby Allin. MJF said that he and Darby were two of the four pillars of AEW, but basically MJF and the Pinnacle have been tormenting and attacking Darby Allin over the past few weeks, as well as Sting, as well as throwing some shots out, like saying they're going to put him in a wheelchair, like Sting's friend Lex Luger.
Awkward.
Getting a little bit real. Apparently Chris Jericho wasn't too happy with that, but MJF known for rubbing people the wrong way. We've got MJF $1.50, Darby Allin $2.40.
Yeah, I think this one could be a very good chance of being match of the night for me as well. MJF, he's just going to slow the match right down. He's going to be his heelish best the whole way through. Darby's obviously going to get his shots in. He's going to get his little offense on. But when does Wardlow and Sting get involved? Who's going to screw who? But MJF is just you love to hate him. He's just such a heel. Such a good heel.
He's brilliant. Originally I put him kind of on the level of the Miz.
Yeah.
But he's starting to.
Yeah.
I don't know. And maybe that's just because Miz is hampered by being in WWE. So there's only so far he can go with things.
Miz is a little bit too comical these days and stuff like that.
Exactly.
He's sort of turned it a bit PG and family friendly and that kind of stuff. Whereas MJF doesn't care. Like he'll give the finger to his own mother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he just does not care.
He does not. I'm taking Allen in this one, and only because I see a Wardlow turn on MJF coming.
Ooh, I'm going to take MJF.
Go with the smart money.
Yeah, smart money. There is a turn coming. This is his pay-per-view. I do feel like there's a turn coming in this pay-per-view, but it's going to be later.
Okay. Looking forward to hearing it. We then go to the 10-man Minneapolis street fight, Inner Circle and versus Men of the Year and American Top Team. Plenty going on between these two factions, probably far too much, to be honest.
Yeah.
Jericho seemingly on the end of a lot of American Top Team beatings. He was given a beating on Dynamite and put in the walls of Jericho by Dan Lambert the past week. We've got Inner Circle at $1.37 and Men of the Year American Top Team at $2.80.
$2.80. I don't mind that odds, only because it's a street fight. I think it gives the guys that are inexperienced that chance to actually do some stuff and that. So if it was just a straight wrestling match, then they're going to get found out real quick. So I think the fact that it's a street fight opens it up. Obviously, like Sammy, Jericho, Hager, Scorpio, and those guys, they're all going to carry the match mostly. And then Dan Lambert's going to be just running around looking like an idiot, I guess. And then it'll be interesting to see what JDS and Arlovsky do. But yeah, I'm actually going to say that they win, to be honest. I think Top Team win.
All right. Well,
I think Jericho will put them over.
I'm going with the Inner Circle and smart money. I think they need to find a way to win without making Dos Santos and Arlovsky look bad, which I think is why Dan Lambert's in the match. Everyone wants to see Lambert get his ass kicked. And I think with the whole, being putting Jericho in the walls of Jericho. It's just kind of setting it up. So that's my take on that one.
Just on that as well, though, I did see that somebody just pulled out of their next fight. Street G just Jorge Masvidal. So I mean, if there's a chance there, he might show up. You never know.
Could we see Jorge Masvidal? Okay,
you'd love that.
We then move on to the AEW Women's World Championship match. Britt Baker against Ty Conte. Baker is the absolute queen of AEW at the moment. We saw that with a Halloween hardcore match against Abaddon.
Thumbtacks. Talk about thumb. I thought Mick Foley did thumbtacks well, but wow.
A mouthful of thumbtacks, then a super kick to the head.
And then when she had her, she just had her fingers in there.
Who thinks about that?
Abaddon just kept coming. I was like, what is going on here?
What was brilliant too is, Abaddon's, like the zombie, right? The dead girl. Yeah. And obviously Britt Baker's finishing move is putting her fingers in someone's mouth.
She starts biting on the fingers.
That was classic. But look, obviously Baker, Rebel, and Jamie Hayter, they've had their issues with Ty Conte and Anna Jay. So this should be a good one. Britt Baker, $1.12. Ty Conte, $5.25. Very short.
$5.25.
$5.25.
Cash me up. We're on here. Britt's going to lose the title.
Wow.
It's happening.
Wow. Okay.
She's had it too long. I personally really don't think it's going to happen, but I need to mix it up. I have to have a go. This is the one.
I'm taking the $1.12. I don't see it happening. I don't see the title going to anyone in the women's division except Jade Cargill right now.
Well, that's a good point.
And there's a few WWE talents. No, Jax.
Hang on, do you want some water, mate?
Yeah, thanks. Possibly on the way, so maybe that could be a catalyst for her to lose the title. But
so I mentioned this before, and I said somebody's going to turn. I think that Rebel or Jamie Hayter could turn on the DMD.
Okay.
So there has been a little bit of dissension in the ranks there. You know what I mean? So
there has been. Britt Baker left Rebel to the Wolves on Dynamite the other night. So
yeah, and if Anna Jay comes out, gets involved, any of the Dark Order, anything could happen. So it's just a little schmoz fest, Britt, and then maybe straight away Britt will get a title shot back or something, and then it'll be that Kane title run where he had it for one day and got the title back the next day.
Poor Ty if that happens. We then move on to the AEW World Title Tournament Eliminator Final. Jeez, that's a mouthful. We've got Miro against Bryan Danielson when it looked like we were going to get Mox and Danielson, which would have been a classic. Mox pulled out, as we mentioned, but what a perfect spot for Miro to fill.
Yeah, Miro. Good to see him back.
Yeah.
Obviously coming off that loss to Sammy, so that cost him his title. So it'll be good to see him back.
We've got Bryan Danielson, $1.60, Miro, $2.20. I think Miro's going to win this one. Now, this might go on to show who I'm backing in the world title fight, but
just giving it away.
I feel like if Omega loses the title, then Miro is the better challenger for Paige. When if Omega retains, then Danielson's better. So it kind of gives away my pick, but I think Miro's going to win.
Well, I'll give mine away as well, and I completely agree with you and say Danielson's going to win.
Okay, all right. So we move on to the AEW World Championship match. Kenny Omega against Hangman Adam Page. Page has been so close to the title. He lost the match to crown the first AEW World Champion. Had his breakup with Kenny Omega, his rise back up, and with the Dark Order helping him, should be a cracker. Page, very short odds, $1.12.
I can't believe this.
$5.25.
Where would you ever get $5.25 for Omega? Anywhere,
that's crazy.
Ever. He's the best in the world.
That is crazy.
So,
but I guess the odds makers agree with me. I think it's time to give Page the title. Omega's been an incredible champion. We can still get a lot more matches out of these two, but it's time.
You think the Cowboys ready, do you?
I think the Cowboys ready.
Yeehaw. Well, okay, I'm going to go Omega. I think he holds on to it. It's going to be a great match. So they're both athletic dudes. They've got history. There's going to be bad blood there. It's going to be a great match.
Do you reckon there'll be blood? I mean, Omega signed the contract in Page's blood, so
yeah, there has to be. Well, he got hit with the camera, didn't he? And
Don Callis hiding as a camera.
Good old Don Callis. How could you not see it was him, even with that fake mustache and fake goatee?
All right, so there you have it. That is the card for Full Gear. We're going to move on to a bit more fun now. Not that that wasn't fun, but our 3-count draft, the best combat sport crossover athletes. Now, the caveat being that these people had to have an actual wrestling match in a promotion. I think that's fair. I will draft first, as you drafted first last time. Now, it's actually a tough 101. I've got this guy just a tad above some of these others, but I'm going to take probably the greatest crossover of all time, Brock Lesnar.
Here we go, Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar, 5-3 record, like still not the greatest record, but the most famous and probably the most dangerous of all the crossover athletes, I think.
Yeah. Well, my first pick hasn't got the biggest MMA career, but I think the big name, Mr. Hollywood himself at the moment, Batista. I'm going to take Batista.
Batista. See, I didn't even see that he'd had an MMA career, so
it wasn't much of a career, that's for sure.
I mean, hey, it still
beat
counts.
Like a 45-year-old fat guy, so it was pretty much he fought me.
Yeah,
and he won. So
good job, Batista.
But I just need a big name. I need the Hollywood lights. So.
Hey, that's a huge name. Can you imagine a Lesnar Batista match? That'd be pretty. Oh, that'd be a juicy match.
That's some big man meat. So what is it?
It's a big meaty men slapping meat.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that leaves me my second pick, which I wasn't sure was going to get back to me, but
CM Punk.
What? The 0-2 MMA record, CM Punk. No, it is not CM Punk. I am taking Floyd Money Mayweather, pound for pound, one of the greatest fighters of all time. Took on Big Show at WrestleMania 24, Floyd Mayweather.
Wow. That is big. All right. Well, to counter that, I'm going to have to take a boxer myself. I'm going to have to take the greatest, Muhammad Ali.
What?
Muhammad Ali. Now, I had to do a bit of study for this one.
Muhammad Ali's had a real, like a wrestling match?
100%. June 26, 1976. It was billed as the War of the Worlds. He fought against Antonio Inoki in Tokyo.
Inoki, of course.
Yes, mate.
Oh.
The greatest.
Oh, I'm coughing at myself because I'm so upset at that.
But I had to do a lot of study for that one.
Muhammad Ali.
I went deep in.
I thought I had it with Floyd Money Mayweather. Muhammad Ali with a second pick. All right.
Woo.
Well, if we're going with heavyweight champions, I think I'm gonna have to take another boxer. Oh, geez, we're boxing heavy here. I'm gonna take Tyson Fury. The Gypsy King.
The Gypsy
is my
King
third
is gone.
pick. Took on Braun Strowman at Crown Jewel in 2019. Tyson Fury.
That's a good pick. Good pick. All right, I'm going to take somebody who was a WWF Attitude Era staple and big in the MMA back in the day, before UFC was even really that big. I'm going to take... Speaking of him, he'll get a mention in the honorable mentions after this. Ken Shamrock.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah, he had some great matches in WWF. I remember like some of his intercontinental matches against Triple H and stuff like that was good.
He did. And I mean, Shamrock kind of paved the way for a lot of those UFC guys. I mean, he was one of the first huge names in UFC.
Yeah.
And his match at UFC 40 against Tito Ortiz, probably one of the most important for the company.
Yeah, sort of just really elevated it a little bit higher.
It did. That's a great pick. He's probably up there for me with Lesnar as one of the best at both.
Yeah, at both, definitely.
Yeah.
We've gone for a few names here rather than that kind of stuff. But I mean,
yeah, that's right. All right. Well, I'm gonna get back to MMA. I think I've done enough boxes. The first woman to be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame, I'm taking Ronda Rousey with my fourth pick.
Ronda Rousey. That's a good pick. It's
an amazing MMA talent. Obviously, she was unstoppable until Holly Holm stopped her in Melbourne. Yeah. And then she had a cool little run with WWE. So she picked it up fairly well.
Do you think she'll be back or what?
never say never, right? In WWE, you know, she had the baby.
She's had the baby.
She had the baby. And it didn't take Becky Lynch long. I think she'll probably enjoy being a mother for a while, but never say. I think she'll be back to WWE before she goes back to UFC.
Yeah, well, I don't think she'll ever go back to UFC.
No.
No. All right, my next pick, I'm going to take another MMA guy, another guy that was around back in the 90s. I'm going to take Dan the Beast Severn.
Ooh, good pick.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
he was scary. 100. He's had over 100 MMA fights.
Wow,
that's sorry, over 100 because he's got over 100 wins. So it's probably a lot more than that.
He was around like UFC 1, like he fought in that type. Like that's crazy.
That is insane. Dan the Beast 7, great pick. All right, with my last pick, I got 2 MMA guys, 2 boxers. I'm gonna go a little bit someone else. I'm gonna take a wrestler, and I'm gonna take Olympic gold medalist, won the Olympic gold medal with a broken freaking neck, Kurt freaking Angle.
Wow. Okay. Well, that makes sense. I guess that's fair. Yeah. But why wasn't he number 1?
Well,
you saved him for number 5.
Saved him for 5. He dropped to me. I think because when we think of combat athletes, wrestling's probably not the top sport that you think of as combat sport, but it's up there, and I'll take it. Kurt Angle with my last pick at number 5.
All right. Well, to counter Kurt Angle, I think these two would have more great matches. I'm going to take Bobby Lashley.
Bobby Lashley. That's a great pick. Yeah. He was a beast in MMA, 14-2.
That's pretty impressive.
That's a good record. And obviously, he looks fantastic. Was he like 45 or something? He looks incredible. I could only hope to be that jacked at that age. But yeah, Bobby Lashley, great pick. All right, so for my 5, I have Brock Lesnar, Floyd Money Mayweather, Tyson Fury, Ronda Rousey, and Kurt Angle. Benny, you have Batista, Muhammad Ali, Ken Shamrock, Dan the Beast 7, and Bobby Lashley. I'll be interested to see what the people think.
I think you might have me covered.
I feel like that second pick just killed me. Muhammad Ali.
I am the greatest.
How did I miss that? Have you got any honorable mentions there, Benny?
There's a few honorable mentions. Now, my favorite honorable mention out of this whole thing was Tank Abbott. Do you remember the WCW days when he came out? He tried to join 3 Count.
Yeah.
Good old Evan Courageous and Shannon Moore. And
respect to 3 Count. Great name.
Brought out his own little square because they used to come out and stand on circles and dance. And shout out to 3 Count. And
he's a decent MMA fighter, Tank Abbott. I think he's an MMA fighter beforehand, right?
Yeah. So another honorable mention, boxer Mark Barrow. He was around in the Attitude Era. He had Brock Lesnar's. He's got Brock Lesnar's. He's at Sable. He was with Sable.
That's right. Now Brock Lesnar has Sable.
Yeah, that's weird. But that'd be a good match.
There you go.
And you mentioned Bart Gunn before. Now this guy ties in with Bart Gunn. Butterbean.
I did think about Butterbean when I looked at this list.
How can you forget about Butterbean? Yeah. So he obviously had that fight with Bart Gunn after Bart Gunn won the Brawl for All back in the 90s. That was the worst thing that WWE ever did.
Oh,
have you got any other honorable mentions?
Yeah, I do. I have a few. Cain Velasquez.
Yeah.
Obviously had that match with Lesnar at Crown Jewel. 14-3 MMA record. Now, sneaky one, Riddle. Riddle's actually got a pretty good MMA record at 8-3.
Yeah, didn't he get kicked out of the UFC for smoking weed or something like that?
That would not surprise me one bit. Would not surprise me at all. We've got Jake Hager, who has the most NCAA pins in a single season, which is pretty big. Shayna Baszler, obviously, the record of 15-11 isn't the best record, but she was a beast when she was fighting. Alberto Del Rio, 9-5 MMA record. CM Punk, as you mentioned, probably not going to be picked up anywhere.
Leave Phil alone.
0-2. But the last one I had was Minoru Suzuki, who we recently just saw in AEW, has a 30-19 MMA record. So he's had a lot of fights.
I reckon he would have won half of them just by looking at him and staring him out of the cage, mate. That guy's
exactly.
Scary.
Purely from the haircut.
Yeah. What is that haircut? I thought that was scars or something on his head.
They probably are, to be fair. He's a very scary looking dude. Well, that's our 3-count draft for this week, and that is it for our Full Gear preview. Thank you so much for joining us. As I mentioned, we'll post the fantasy draft up on the socials. You tell us who you think has the better top 5. I think you did pretty well in the last one, Benny. So please give me some love. Or let us know if there's anyone you think we missed and who should have gone in the top 5. We'll be back next week with our thoughts on Full Gear. Plus, we'll preview Survivor Series, and we'll have another great draft for you. Make sure you hit us up on the socials at 3Count Pod on Twitter and Facebook, at 3Count Podcast on Instagram, or email us 3countpod@outlook.com. But Benny, once again, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Dill. Always a pleasure, mate. I'll see you next week, and Full Gear should be massive.
Enjoy Full Gear, people.